right, so y'all know the drill. If I start the podcast by now, you know Justin is off, and Justin is working hard at an event this weekend. I should have made up some destination of where he is. I've been kind of bad at that recently when he's be off. So, I don't know. Maybe he's off in whatever. We'll get back to you on that. Our guy Chris Crawford is here, but I mean, really, it's a fitting appearance for Chris because everything Chris enjoys is just doing great right now. Like if you're watching on stream, he's got the Wemby shirt on. The Spurs, who we're going to talk about in this episode, look like bona fide finals contenders. March Madness, which we're going to talk here in a second, is going on. He's got the high point koozie. His high point not only making March Madness, winning the conference, taking down Wisconsin, a very admirable loss to Arkansas in the second round, but put up a good fight. So certainly a great run for them there. And oh, by the way, T.I. is super relevant more than ever. Back for a little bit. You got to let him know going right now, which is burning up the charts. A great record. T.I. in vintage form there over Pharrell production. You love to see that. So I mean, yeah, how does it feel? And I mean, Chris lives up in Atlanta, and oh wow, okay, here we go. Flex on stream, CC and T.I. there a little bit, and full like background baseball. T.I. is a huge, or T.I. I mean, he is a huge fan of you, but CC is a huge T.I. fan, and for years was just anywhere would be so close to T.I. in proximity in terms of like at a concert or had tickets for something. And it was just like, what, a decade plus of you not being able to meet him. And then me, like, this is after you and I were friends. My first year at Roots Picnic, I'm at a DJ drama set, and who pops out? T.I. pops out. And it was great. I was like, wow, what are the chances? This guy's fighting for his life. But now since you moved to Atlanta, what are you at, like 2 or 3 times you met him by now?
I got to meet him a couple times now. Yeah, no, it was, I had booked a cruise, and then the next day he was announced as the headliner at Funk Fest, which one of the radio stations that we worked at was like the sponsor for. So we would have easily been able to, get a ticket and be able to get there.
That was a star show, right?
Yeah. Yep. And he was headlining. So it was like a whole thing. And then there was, when I was studying abroad in Australia, the day after I left, after 6 months of being in Australia, he performed in the city that I was in the day after it's not fair the amount of times that I missed him. So it's been great to actually get to meet him and see him too, which has been fun. But yeah, no, everything's going pretty good right now. Yeah. And High Point put a great game against Arkansas. Not a good game, a great game.
They did. It was a valiant effort for real. I mean, and shout out to my alma mater, Hofstra as well. CAA champs this year. First time since 2020. Thankfully, COVID did not happen again, and they did not cancel the entire tournament. Don't let the final score deceive you against Alabama. We put up a valiant effort as well. I'm real happy about it.
And nobody poached Claxton.
Yeah.
Nobody came in and tried to take him away, which is like, honestly, like the loss may have like put some people off in that sense, but like, it's great if a team like Hofstra can keep him around. And he went there, and you hope that he will just stay there forever. But the looming concern is always that a big team will come in and swoop in. But the fact that there were no rumors about that, his name wasn't in any conversations, make me think that he told people that he was not interested in going anywhere else.
Yeah, and I mean, when we won CAA, he was real, like, he mentioned a lot, because, I mean, like, he won a title with your Spurs. He was on the first team, I think the 03 team that won the finals with them, and so, like, he's won it every level, basically, and mentioned how much this meant to him. And, right, like, you're hoping that he takes the hometown discount. I mean, the last time they had made the tournament, it was, Mihalchik was the coach in 2020, unfortunately had health issues, so that's a bummer there. Shout out to Joe. It was good to see him back out in public. He made the trip down to D.C. for the game, so that was really cool to see. Or down to Tampa, I should say. And then way back, it's Jay Wright. Like, it was Jay Wright. Yeah. And Hofstra, like, put him on the program. Like, that's what got him noticed by Nova. And obviously the rest is history there. One of the greatest coaches in college basketball history. But right, like, Jay got poached. Like, you're hoping that you're hoping he wants to stick around. And I mean, I think, if nothing else, they've shown they're going to attract like quality guard talent every year. And I think Speedy is just going to like bring that in on his own. Obviously, like a quite decorated guard in his own right there. But yeah, I mean, super excited. Like, obviously the next goal will be to see them win a tournament game. But for me, like, yeah, if Hofstra basketball makes March Madness, that's winning the Super Bowl for me. Like, clearly they're not going to go on a title. Like, sure, in some weird alternate dimension, are they winning a national championship? Yeah, but like, also, sure, I also might grow wings and fly during this podcast. I wouldn't exactly put a bet on it though.
No, but it's just cool, and especially the way that he reacted. Like, I think that you mentioned slightly earlier, like his emotion was really cool to see, because it felt like it was like, damn, this is so meaningful for him. And that's why when I say, like, there were no calls, there were no questions, there were no thoughts that he was popping up on any names and stuff. Makes me think that he made it clear, like, no, I'm staying. I want to be here. And that maybe there's a chance he'll be there long term because of that. Because it's rare to see that level of emotion come out after winning a conference championship for a coach. You know,
no,
like it's a rare level to get to that. And like it showed how much it meant to him and what the team and the program and everything means to him. And it would be really cool to see a guy with a namesake and a recognizable name like Speedy Claxton be at a program like Hofstra and stay there for like the next 20 years.
It would be great. Let's hope we can speak that into existence. But I mean, turning wise right now, we're in the Elite Eight, 2 games tonight as we're recording this on Saturday. So later tonight, we got Iowa, Illinois, and then we got Purdue, Arizona. Tomorrow, we got Tennessee and Michigan, UConn and Duke. A bunch of great games on slate. Of course, Iowa, the lowest seed left, they're a 9. Tennessee's a 6. Otherwise, a lot of 1s and 2s. UConn and Duke, obviously, kind of your traditional heavyweight fight there. Arizona and Purdue certainly going to be a heavyweight fight there. I mean, I will also say one of the bigger reasons that we bring Chris on around this is that he is much more versed in college basketball than I am. For as much as I know about the NBA, college is not my dojo. It's not really my arena. So I'm going to throw a few questions at you just to take your temperature with the tournament. Of course, the defending national champions of Florida are out. Arizona at this point, and really going into the tournament, seem to be the consensus favorite. Do you feel like they are the team to beat at this point?
I think it's them. I think it's them in Michigan, really. Like, I think that whoever wins it, like, I think Michigan's going to just dispose of Tennessee with so much ease. And then I think Arizona, it'll be an interesting game with Purdue tonight. I think that Purdue is sneaky good. I think Purdue is a team that also is like a team that is so desperate to win this thing because of how close and how many opportunities they've had over the last 4 or 5 years and everything with Zach Edey and everything that they've done with that program. And Matt Painter, especially. Like, I think that he really, really wants to prove, because they lost to a 15 seed like 3 or 4 years ago, too, if you don't remember that, in the first round. So, like, this is a Purdue team that has gone through all of the ups and downs and everything. And they lost a really, really tough game to Houston last year.
Yep.
And, you know, I think that they're a team that is so wanting to get over that cusp that it's the one team that could maybe give Arizona some trouble here. Because I do think that if Arizona wins, I think that Michigan-Arizona game will be good. I think Arizona will win it. I think Arizona is going to be the national champion when all is said and done. But I do think Purdue has a slight chance to maybe take them to the end of the game here tonight. If they can keep it close, they could pull the upset off with the last second shot. But, like, man, Arizona looks so good. Michigan looks so good that both those teams are just on a collision course for the Final Four, it seems. And then winner of that game is going to be the national champion. And I really do think it's going to be Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Arizona in my bracket. Again, I'm not the college basketball expert, but it did feel like, you know, they've been consistently strong the entire season. I've certainly been impressed with the way they've come out so far in the tournament. I guess, do you have any, obviously all high point bias aside, do you have any games? Because for me, I was watching, I think so far my favorite game has been Duke and St. John's. Duke and St. John's last night was just absolutely electric. Do you have a game in particular that stood out for you so far this tournament?
I mean, the Duke and Arkansas game was so much. I mean, the High Point Arkansas game was so much fun. Like, it was so fun. And then even the Wisconsin High Point game was fun. I wish that I had gotten a chance to see more of the Vanderbilt Nebraska game.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to watch that game, because I thought that the winner of that game would actually beat Florida. But then Florida lost early, and then Iowa was an incredible. Like, I was surprised that Iowa actually beat Nebraska. That was a very, very impressive win. Like, them beating Florida was surprising. And then normally when you get that kind of situation, it's like typically going to be, all right, the better team's going to balance out here in the next round, which Nebraska was playing really well. But to see the way that Iowa was playing was really impressive. But that Vanderbilt-Nebraska game was, I mean, just so fun. You know, I've got a set up in my basement where I've got a big projector and 2 side TVs. So I had it on the side TV and I kept glancing, and it was just back and forth the whole way through. And it was that half court shot was so Gordon Hayward-esque, you know? I mean, that thing was down, around, and in and bounced out. Like, it was unbelievable. So that game was one that really stuck out to me. That was, and maybe it's because I didn't get to watch it, is why I'm like, that game felt like the game of the tournament, because I didn't get to watch it. But it's because it was at the same time as High Point Arkansas, and I was locked in on that, which was as equally great a game. Just didn't have a half-court buzzer beater shot or a last-second shot to win. But, yeah, no, that Vandy Nebraska game was probably I think if you were to ask people that got a chance to watch that game versus the High Point Arkansas game, I think they would all say that that was the game of the tournament so far.
And so, of course, for the NBA fans, there's still a good amount of prospects here that are left in, namely Cameron Boozer, projected #1 overall pick, still playing for Duke right now. You feel like anybody has kind of risen their profile come draft time?
Oh, Acuff. I think what Acuff did and everything has really pumped his draft stock up. I mean, he was looking at like a maybe 7, 8, 9 range, and now after the way, because of that game against High Point and Rob Martin and the way those two squared off and the shots that Acuff was hitting, he's kind of put himself into the conversation of a top 5 pick. I think you look at the way, even though it was a loss, the way LeBaron Philon played last night for Alabama, I think that he improved his stock a lot. I think that just in general, this draft class this year is so deep.
So
it is such a good draft class. The top 15 guys in this draft class could all be impactful players right off the bat. I'm really, really excited to see how this draft unfolds and how players unfold. I would say at the same time, a guy like Darren Peterson hurt his draft stock a little bit in this tournament. I think that he kind of showed that there's something there that just isn't quite feeling right, or guarantee that he'll be that guy. Like there's like it's crazy because the skill talent and everything for him is out of this world, but for whatever reason, just something with him and something about his play is not consistent enough, and from a mental standpoint, it just doesn't seem like he has that tenacity to be like what Acuff was in those NCAA tournament games. Acuff was going and trying to do the best that he could against Arizona the other night, and Arizona was just a buzzsaw and there was nothing he could do, but he was still going at it and getting his. But I think that as far as players that helped Acuff, I think LeBaron Philon, players hurt. I think Darren Peterson really kind of hurt himself a bit in this tournament.
I'm always going to be high on Calipari guys too. Like that's just the other reality of it. Is like so many Calipari guys at this point have been excellent pros. Like they all really have translated into like worst case scenario rotation guys. Like I'm always going to be intrigued there.
And when he comes out, and I know that as a coach, you're going to want your guys to get drafted. You want them to be a top draft pick and everything. But I do take some credence in Calipari being like, no, this kid is legit. Like I've coached a lot of guards. This kid, he is legit. And like that, the way that they say it, and like it means something more than just a like a kind of, I want to prop this guy's draft status up a little bit leading into the draft. Like the way that he's talked about him all year has been very consistent.
Well, he's just right about it. When he's right, he's right. Like he was like with Tyrese, with Maxey slipped all the way down the board. He was like, you guys are blowing it. He's like, this kid's going to be an excellent pro. Look at Bam. I think he's the same way with Bam, where he just came down and, obviously Bam was a kind of a diamond in the rough a little bit. Like I know he wasn't a top 10 pick, but, still going high in a lottery, but, he wasn't necessarily, the most brilliant college player out there, but Calipari consistently the whole time was saying this guy was going to thrive in the pros, and now look at him now, basically at a 10-year NBA career. So yeah, I mean, look, when Cal is right, he's right.
Yeah, and like you look at what a lot of these like high prospect guys did in this tournament, like AJ DeBonsa got bounced early, but like put in a great game. Like really, like I don't know, I think didn't he finish with? I think he had over 30 points in their loss. But, unfortunately that BYU team wasn't as good. Like, I look at a guy like him and I'm like, I still believe that he's going to be an elite player in the NBA too. Even though he doesn't have a guy like Calipari in his corner, kind of pumping him up in the way that Calipari is doing for Acuff. But that's another guy that I think is going to be really good in the NBA. And I think that he's got the playing ability and like the mentality to be a strong player. But that was somebody I forgot. I was trying to think of who else I really liked in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, when you look around too at this class, though, again, it's like, and we're going to talk the anti-tanking proposals a little bit later in this episode as well. But like, yeah, can you see why half the league is tanking right now? Like when there's this much talent out there, you're going to need franchise changers, and it just does. It looks like the opposite of it. And it's like you go back a few years. The draft of the Hawks of the pick with Reese Ashe, and it's like, man, this was one of the weakest drafts ever. And now it's like, nope, never mind, we're back, we're super loaded.
Well, I like
franchise how changers up and down the board.
The guy that escaped my mind is a guy that is going to be a top 3 draft pick. Like there's so much talent in this draft, in this NCAA tournament this year. It's been so fun to watch. And like AJ Dibatsa got eliminated in the first round, so it's like out of sight, out of mind sort of thing. But like watching LeBaron Filan last night in that loss, he was so fun to watch. He's so quick, so crafty, and so good at finishing in the lane that like I don't know. I just think that this is going to be a really, really fun draft class to see and how it all pans out. But I think that there's a lot of players that, could be drafted at 6 or 12 and have just as big as impact as either one.
I mean, he won the game against when it was Hofstra, Alabama. Like, he won the game for Alabama. Yeah. He was consistently the best player on the floor the entire time. Like, Hofstra had a lead in the first half. He got them back into it and really made it, like, it being a 2-point game. They, like, to the point where they had a 2-point lead at halftime where they were down, I think, 12 at one point. Yeah, I mean, single-handedly willed them there, like you said, looked good even in the loss. So, should be a fun tournament. I mean, who do you think... not to end the tournament talk on like kind of a lower note, but like of all the teams that have been eliminated so far, who do you think you're most disappointed in?
I mean, I am disappointed that BYU and Dibatsa got bounced in the first round. That was a team that I actually thought could maybe have a lot of fun and make a little run. And honestly, on that same side, Gonzaga, and Mark Few, you kind of always expect them to do good, but it's so funny the way with these playing games you always get a team that's an 11 seed that kind of makes a run, and they got matched up with the 11 seed that made the run.
So can I tell you something about, like, I don't know anything about college basketball, but there's one thing I'm consistent on, and I don't want to be a hater of this, but it's just it is one thing I have learned in my entire life is that Gonzaga is never going to win anything meaningful. It will not happen. They're never going to win the Natty.
They make the Sweet 16. But
yeah,
that's
for sure.
They make the Sweet 16. So,
but they always underachieve. It's never they always fall a game short than they're supposed to. Like, and obviously, again, they've churned out a few pros. Like, it's a great program. They're consistently in it. But I just, like, if you ask me to pull they're the college basketball equivalent of like the Maple Leafs for me, where I'm like, no, they're not going to win. They're hexed. Like, I don't know what it is, but they're just they can't beat it.
It's interesting though that you asked that question of who, like, because I'm literally, I have the bracket, like my pocket bracket's always around. Like, as you said, I'm obsessed. But like, there really isn't a true team I'm disappointed in. Like I think that like Florida, everyone is going to point to Florida and everything like that, but it's so hard to repeat in college basketball.
And like the just team win the Natty gives you a lot of credit last year.
I thought they were overrated going in. I watched that Florida team play against a very bad Providence team early in the year, and Providence held their own, and it was only a 10 or 11 point game at the end. Like, I did not see that Florida. I didn't pick Florida, I don't think, in the Elite Eight in any of my brackets. So like, I don't think, I think everyone had really, like, you look at a team like Illinois who constantly kind of fall short. They finally are getting to the point where they're in the Elite Eight again. You look at Tennessee and Rick Barnes, a guy that constantly underperforms in the NCAA tournament. They're making it to an Elite Eight again as a 6 seed. And, UVA was a 3 seed. So you might have Virginia fans who say they underperformed, but I think that was, again, another overrated team. I had Tennessee upsetting them in a lot of my brackets. Like, it's really cool to see a lot of these teams who had expectations to possibly make a run and do some things like a Nebraska or Vanderbilt. Like, both those teams coming in, I hated that they got matched up in the same side of the bracket because I really liked the way both those teams were playing coming in. And they both played great until the end in a crazy game that ended in a last second layup and barely missed half court shot. Like, it's cool to see a bracket where you can't really point to one team and be like, that was a huge disappointment.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, the other one too is like Houston, I guess, if there's going to be one with them being there last year, having another shot again, going out kind of early. I mean, it is nice to see a little bit of variance.
But it's a good Illinois team, and it's an Illinois team that got absolutely destroyed by UConn too. Like, remember, like, that was a game that, like, UConn started out, and like, remember, that was such an incredible game. They were up 55-12 or something to start that game. Like, it was absurd. So like, that's what I mean, where good. Like, when a team like Illinois is the team that beats the Houston team who's been there and gotten it done a few years in a row, it's hard to be disappointed in Houston because that's an Illinois team that really has been trying to get over that next level for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely a lot of parity in the sense of, like, I mean, I know Duke is still there, but a lot of the traditional college basketball powerhouses are, like, Kentucky's not there right now. Florida's not there. UCLA is not there. I mean, Michigan State had a good run and they're out of it. And it's like, again, UConn is still there too. So there's another powerhouse. But like, right, like, these aren't, a lot of these teams that are left aren't the teams that we've seen win titles in recent years. Like, so it is good to see them shake it up a little bit. And I mean, look, in Lord knows with NIL and the transfer portal and all the things that could happen now, like we are in a new world. So, always good to see some fresh faces, but been a fun tournament so far as well. Hopefully these last few games shake out. We'll see if Arizona can finish the job or if it ends up being somebody else. Welcome everybody to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Again, my co-host Justin Cousart off for the week. So in his place, we got Chris Crawford, assistant program director at WSB Radio in Atlanta. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at On Air with CC. And of course, you got to tune into WSB. I mean, look, WSB. I mean, listen, we know what that is. That's a legacy monster radio station in Atlanta. I feel like if you're sitting in Atlanta traffic, if you're not listening to WSB, like, what are we talking about?
You're not getting through your traffic if you're not listening to WSB. You're going to sit in that traffic. Whereas if you listen to WSB, you get around that traffic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Look, y'all got 3 choppers or something? What? We still got that many in the air?
No, no choppers. No
more choppers.
All right. No more choppers. No more choppers. We're going to talk about choppers.
All right. We're moving on from that.
We'll take that on post.
All right. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. I'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store.
No choppers, if that counts.
There's no what?
Nobody noticed there's no choppers, if that counts for anything.
I mean, hey, that is good. All right. Well, hopefully this podcast is not what points their attention to it. But yeah, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us. Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM. Watch the show on YouTube. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. Hit the subscribe button there. And now a word from our sponsors. All right, coming back. So initially, when we were structuring the episode, doing the outline, we were going to talk expansion. We were going to talk anti-tanking first because, there's been a lot of league news recently. But then I started doing a deep dive on the Spurs because we were going to talk Spurs, not because CC is a Spurs guy, so of course you got to talk about them a little bit, but of course very relevant right now as well. And I was just doing the post All-Star break deep dive, and I'm just like, yeah, we need to be doing this a little more right now. And I mean, look, 15-2 since the All-Star break. They are currently obliterating the Milwaukee Bucks as we speak on the road. I think they're up 40. There's no way around it. The team looks like a bona fide finals contender. And I remember going into this season, it was, for me, the question is like, hey, we know how good Wemby is going to be. You made the trade for De'Aaron Fox. Like, they're clearly trying to win games. It's like, all right, you want to see them win substantial games this year, maybe make the playoffs, push out of a play-in spot. And I feel like you would have taken that as a success. But I mean, there's no way around it. The expectations have just shifted so radically, so fast, to the point where they are a bona fide finals contender. And I think the reason, too, you got to give them a lot of credit is something that we've been talking about, Justin and I, in that they played well against Oklahoma City. Like, I think Oklahoma City is still the favorite to repeat, but the Spurs have had a matchup success against this Oklahoma City team so far in the regular season. So I guess I'll just ask you, like, you can put the homer hat on, like, where are you at in terms of belief with this team? And the part 2 to that, is it as simple as just Victor Wembanyama's ascendance into the, like, freak that we all thought he was going to be?
Yeah, I think it's that he is that much of a game changer. Like, that he's just that incredible in what he does and what he brings to the floor, and the way that he has teams adjusting just because of his presence, not because of like anything he's actually doing, just because his existence on the floor is there, that teams have to alter what they're doing. And that's what's really incredible. And it's hard to, point to a time and place where there's been a player like that before, with that, to the degree that he has that influence. Like, you have people focus on different players and adjust things in that way, but because of his size and everything that he does, there are things that teams have to adjust just because he's going to be out there on the floor and have so much of a space and presence out there that we've never seen in the NBA landscape before. And so, yeah, I think that is really what's been one of the most important, if not the most important part of why they've been able to do this year. I think bringing in De'Aaron Fox last year was massive and crucial in having that veteran leadership in the locker room with Harrison Barnes too. You've got a guy that has won a championship and a proven champion. And then you've got a guy that is a very good veteran and a strong veteran who has just been stuck in a miserable situation in a miserable franchise and is finally playing with a great franchise that knows what they're doing and knows how to run an organization. And it's got to be such a breath of fresh air for him to be able to be in that situation, De'Aaron Fox, that he's playing much freer and not trying to do as much as he was in Sacramento And so when you put all of those things together with this young core that they have and these young players who are really talented, when you have all of that come together in the way that it has, and like a guy like Keldon Johnson taking a back seat and not needing to be a guy that scores 20 points a game like he did in his rookie season, and knowing that he can average 10 and 6 and be totally fine with that. Like it's that all of that coming together and Victor being Victor that I think has put them in this position. And yes, a lot of it's Victor, but like there are all the other side things too.
Well, the Fox trade too, going back to it, it's such brilliant work by the Spurs. It's just they didn't really have to give up any of their young guys. Like that's the more important thing is like you didn't have to trade a Castle, you didn't have to trade like Devin Vassell, you didn't have to trade like all these guys are still here and still able to contribute to this roster right now. And it just allows you to be in that situation. And yeah, for De'Aaron Fox, I mean, certainly he was the biggest part. I feel like everyone should have known De'Aaron Fox as a gamer, just the way he played in Sacramento. I mean, you want to talk about the best moments of that franchise post 2010. It was with De'Aaron Fox. It was the Beam team. Like they were the 3 seed, and then they came back and they beat the Warriors the next year. And De'Aaron Fox is a huge part of that, like making multiple meaningful shots down the stretch. The Kings just were the Kings, unfortunately, and then just did a bunch of bad moves afterwards. And so it kind of, between that and between injury, I think that's the other thing too, is like De'Aaron Fox has been dealing with hand injuries. I feel like on and off for the past 2 seasons. Like, I mean, even last year where, he came in late, so it's always that question of like how much chemistry can you build, but then he got hurt right away. We got what,
yeah,
like 8 games of those two together?
Yeah, he broke his hand, and then Victor Wembanyama had the
with the blood clot.
Blood clot. Yeah, so like it was twofold, like Victor Wembanyama was out right away after the All-Star break, and then De'Aaron Fox got hurt shortly afterward, and it was like, okay, that's it. We'll pack it in and see kind of what comes into fold next year. It was surprising. I'm not gonna lie. Like the way that if you would have said that at the end of March, you're 2.5 games back of Oklahoma City for first place in the West, I don't think I would have been able to believe that. I could have believed it if you told me, but I would have been hesitant to believe it, I think.
It would have been the best. The only way you would have seen it is if it's just we expected Wemby to like ascend, but not and to ascend like this in the way he has. It'd be like, no, he fully becomes just already the world destroyer. Like he had that off season, he had the Olympics, and it's just the reason that I think I personally am so high on Wemby is like it's not just the physical attributes. Like obviously you're right. The NBA has never seen anybody like him. It's the fact that he's so tall, can alter an entire defense, and he just has the mobility and the fluidity of a guard. Like that's just such a unique combination of anything we do there. But the reason I'm so high on Wemby is he also just has the mentality. He's a killer. He wants to do nothing but win basketball games. He's not interested in doing anything else. He's in the gym all the time.
He cried after a regular season win.
Yeah, like that's the stuff where it's like,
what it meant. Like it's like it's not like a Caleb Williams in college crying after a loss in the champion. It's like this dude was so happy after a very intense game during the regular season because, as you said, all he wants to do is win. I'd love to see him not cry after a regular season win, but it shows that passion and like the amount that he cares about it and everything, which is like, it's like, all right, dude, like I want this guy to have this mentality, I want him to care this much.
Well, it just makes you think he's going to it makes you think he's going to be one of the best ever. Like, that's the thing is like when you have that, when he has the physical attributes that he has, like it just gives him the trajectory to get truly into that, God tier top 10, maybe even higher pantheon. Like I know we're early, like I don't want to jump off the cliff. We're only a few seasons in, but like when you look at potential, if we're strictly talking potential, you have to look at it long term. I mean, in terms of dominance and the physical attributes, like the player that comes to mind, at least when I think of dominance, is Shaq, where it was like Shaq in the early 2000s was just such a physical force that no one in the NBA, like he would break defenses the way that other guys in the NBA couldn't. Obviously, Wemby plays stylistically a very different game than Shaq, and clearly, like a lot of that fluidity that we talk about, like that's what to me makes him so much more of a threat. Like, you put Shaq on the line, you get him outside of the paint, he's not going to do anything. Wemby's going to splash threes in your face if you give him wide open looks all day. So, I mean,
so who's your MVP?
Oh man, it's going to come down to a stupid 65 game rule. If OKC finishes 1, I'm really hard to still not give it to SGA. I think the top guys for me right now in the category, it should be Wemby, it should be SGA, it should be Cade, It should be Luka. I think Luka the last few weeks has really moved himself up the conversation. And I think Jokic this year is not the year that I would vote for him, but just off the like strength of him alone in that first half pre-injury, I feel like you have to look at it. It's crazy with Wemby because like I don't think he's gonna get votes for it, and it's almost like pandering at this point to give him this award. But like he should be on like, is there like a super most improved player award if that makes sense? Where it's like he has. I mean, any challenge that I feel like Wemby was given this season, he's so far obliterated, and it's like, hey, if they win the title, like who cares about the MVP? You know?
I think that the way that they have had this season in the difference between, as you said, like what he was last year and this year, and just what it has done for the team and the record and everything. Like they're 2.5 games back of OKC. I really find it hard to argue against Wemby for MVP when it's not like the Thunder are doing anything different from what they did last year.
Yeah, but also just winning, you know?
Right. That's fine. That's good for them. But like, it's not like is Shai doing anything? Has he improved significantly stat wise? Has the team improved win wise in a significant manner?
But it's not about improvement though, and they're still the number one team in the West the entire season. Like he's going out and dropping 30 every night, basically.
Yeah, but when you've got a guy who took a leap in the way that Wemby has, and the team has taken the same leap too, like how it's really hard to ignore that level of just success and what he's contributed after what the Spurs were last year. Like it's something that I keep looking at, and I don't know. Like I'm asking you because I'm trying to have somebody explain to me how this isn't a tighter conversation.
I think it is a tight but I think it is a tight conversation. I don't think it's not a tight conversation. I think SGA.
If you look at the odds, though, it wasn't SGA like minus 500 on the betting odds right now to win MVP.
He is, and I think he's going to win MVP. Like I do think the discussion is close.
But so that's probably. That's what I'm saying. It should. But do
you think if San Antonio jumps to if San Antonio jumps to 1, I think there's a chance that maybe it shifts last minute. But I think if San Antonio, I think it's going to take them getting to 1, and I think it just unfortunately is like it's hard for me to knock somebody for continued excellence, you know? Like I respect the shit out of the Wemby leap. Like obviously, like I said, he's blown the doors off all the expectations we had for this team this year. And I think they're like we said, this isn't, I mean, we're in March, we're talking about this team winning the NBA finals. Like we would have sounded like we were taking crazy pills back in August if we were looking at this roster and going, they're going to win the finals. But like, there is something to be said about SGA's just consistency every single night in and night out, and them being the one. They've ran the gauntlet the entire season, even with them slumping a little bit. They have stayed in the driver's seat the entire year.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I just think that the climb the Spurs have made, I think that the fact that, you know, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's SGA going to land in that Defensive Player of the Year voting?
Here's my question.
Wait, no. Where is SGA going to land in that voting?
Well, I mean, but that doesn't. It's more than that part, though.
It's
like he's a bad defender.
No, but if you've got Defensive Player of the Year, you're the second place team in the West, and you've made an incredible leap from the year before. That's all I'm saying is like it's really hard. Like where is the real case for SGA besides the fact that they did the same exact thing they did last year?
But I think that's an impressive case when you're winning the NBA Finals.
I don't know if it is. He hasn't won the NBA Finals yet. He's just regular season.
He won it last year.
No, I know, but sorry, I was leaving. But this year,
hello, Maggie.
Like Kevin says hi. But this year, if you look at what the Spurs have done versus if you look at what the Thunder did last year, right? And what the Thunder's climb was, and the way they were just crazy all year, and like everyone's like, wow, this is incredible. What a leap SGA has made. He's got to be the MVP. Why is that not the same conversation we're having with Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs this year?
I don't disagree that it should be the conversation because it's tight. And in full disclosure, if you're asking me if I have a choice between Wemby and SGA and I'm starting a franchise and we're pulling everyone back in the fantasy pool, I would take Wemby 10 out of 10 times. And I love SGA, but Wemby is like, I think Wemby is a better player than SGA is. But I also think like SGA's had a hell of a campaign. Like there is something about like running the driver's seat the entire time. And that's what I keep going back to. Like like I appreciate the leap that Wemby's made, and his value to me is clearly off the charts. Like this is a tight conversation. I don't want to sound like I'm downplaying that, but it's also the thing with Cade, like it's the credence I give to Cade Cunningham too. I think Victor Wembanyama is a better player than Cade Cunningham is, but Cade Cunningham is at the Detroit Pistons. I mean, why are we not having that conversation with him then? Where the Pistons, I mean, look where they've been the past 2 years. And I mean, I know they made the playoffs last year as a 6 seed, but like, I don't think anyone expected them to be the consistent 1 seed in the Eastern Conference the entire year. I just don't think it's about the leap in the team's progress. Like, I think it's an individual award.
Yeah, but I just think what he has done individually with this team is really like I don't know. I just think it's very interesting the way that it's kind of a foregone conclusion
Yeah, I
that
mean,
SGA is going to win, and like
I
think
agree
a
with
lot
you
of it,
there.
it's
I don't
like
think it should be
like
a foregone conclusion. I do genuinely agree with that.
it's like they started 20-1, and everyone's like, "Oh, SGA is the MVP." You know, that's it. It's all said and done. You
Yeah,
know, where
they've also kept going past the slump too, and I think it is
yeah,
fair to say that
but
OKC has dealt with some injuries too. Like Jalen Williams has missed large portions of the year. Like pretty much everyone except SGA on that roster has been hurt at some
the
point.
Spurs have also dealt with injuries all year, though.
They have
It's been
again.
twofold. Like it's been both ways. Like neither team had a fully in all the games that the Spurs beat the Thunder, by the way, which I think is worth pointing out as well. Neither team had a fully healthy team. So that's my thing. Like the Thunder started the year 20-1. The Spurs are 23-2 in their last 25 games.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and that matter, and that is the biggest reason why I wanted to move them to the top
Can
and why
we
we're
not
having this
like?
discussion.
Can we not just like? It's not even that I think that my argument isn't necessarily that Victor should win the MVP over Shea. My argument is that there just should be more of a conversation happening about this right now than there is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like it's an even, and I think the race. Yeah, I mean, with the Lakers winning 8 in a row, I think there's been a lot of Luka talk. I mean, shoot, Luka's probably what, second on most betting up boards right now. Like, I think people have bumped him up as well. And I mean, look, it is true though, because I think what you said though about their last 25, like I think if you were to go to most NBA fans right now
They
and
wouldn't
say,
know.
hey, the Spurs are 23-2 in their last 25, like I mean, I'll admit that even caught me a little bit by surprise. Like I know they've been playing well, but like 25 or 23-2 in their last 25 as we're getting into March, like this is we're at serious NBA time. I mean, and it's not like again, like it's about to, I mean, shoot, it's about to be 24-2. Like I said, they're blowing the doors off Milwaukee right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a real shot. Like if I'm talking, I mean, if I'm talking who do I think is going to win the NBA finals, it's OKC, it's San Antonio. Boston is the wild card here. It's really going to come down to Tatum adjusting. I just like my on ramp with Tatum is so difficult. Like this is such a small amount of time for him to come back post Achilles. And I think even he's admitted a little bit where it's like, hey, like this is going to take some adjustment here. Like this is your body getting used to this again too. Like you're only 10 months removed from that tear at this point. But like Boston's been, you know, they're not sneaking up on anybody anymore. And if you get Jason Tatum back, you know, this is a team that is 2 years removed from winning the finals. Like I'm inclined to think they have that in them again if everybody is healthy. But they're still like too much of a wild card for me right now.
Yeah. No, I don't really trust any of these teams from the East. I like in this. Well, I don't want to say I don't trust them, but no, I don't. I do. I want to say I don't trust them. But what I want to say is that I could also see one of them kind of catching fire towards like the end through a playoff run and actually making a series out of it in the end. Like, you know, like the East this year it's weird, right? Like it's not consistent. No one has really been dominant in the sense of like what we've seen from Boston in the previous years.
But
it's
competitive. That's the biggest thing. It's competitive, but it doesn't feel elite.
It doesn't feel elite. And right, exactly. And so that's why I say it's going to be interesting to see how these teams fare once they get to the playoffs, because I do feel like there is something there with like, and I know you don't like, I hate that Cleveland traded for James Harden because I think that just ruins them. But like a team like Cleveland that could maybe get it all together in a sense, or like, as you said, Boston, like if Jason Tatum can kind of piece it all together in enough time, like it's really hard to count out Joe Mazzulla and what he's done with that Boston team. But it feels like the winner is coming out of the West.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, look, maybe Detroit, because I don't think going into the Indy OKC last year that anybody really gave Indy a lot of credit. And like, they're still, you know, they're now an all-time what if and what could have happened in that game 7, and they took it right to them. I agree with you in the sense that, like, yes, I think right now the two best teams are in the Western Conference. Like, when I look at teams and I go, these look like they can win, it's OKC and San Antonio right now. Like, I think, and I'll ask you in a second about like some of these other teams, but I don't feel like, the Houstons, the Lakers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, like teams like that are just like a step below them right now, and that's where I'm kind of at. Yeah, the East, it's a bunch of good teams. Like Boston, again, there was a wild card to me. They could maybe go up. I think Detroit has the potential to be the India last year. I am kind of high on this Detroit team. I feel like they could gut it out. But beyond that, right, like the Knicks are too hot and cold to me. The Cavs, I just need to see win a meaningful game. We don't ever need to talk about the Sixers winning anything meaningful. Like, who else is left? Like, Miami has a clear ceiling to me. Orlando has a clear ceiling to me. I think Toronto has a clear ceiling to me. Like, if anything, the more intriguing teams to me in the East are the teams we talked about last week, in the sense that, like, I think Atlanta and Charlotte are the ones where I'm like, no, they're winning at the right time.
Right.
Like, they look like they're onto something. Like, those are the teams you want to avoid in the first round. But I don't look at either of those teams, even with them peaking, and go, oh yeah, they totally are going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in a 7-game series, or they're going to beat the Spurs in a 7-game series. Like, I just don't think they have that in them.
No, definitely not. And
I would love for Charlotte to do that, but I don't think they have it in them.
Well, it'd be just so funny if either one of those two teams made a run and ended up being the representative from the Eastern Conference. The thing with Detroit, they don't have the shooting. And I get that their style of play is to try and just muck it up and keep it low scoring and like literally play bad boys Detroit basketball. That,
yeah,
like the Spurs Detroit game earlier this season was one of the funnest games that I've watched all year. It was so fun. But it like, outside of Duncan Robinson, like, there's not a lot of great shooting on that Detroit team. I think he is the only person shooting 40% from 3 on that team. And I think that in today's NBA, and they are really good at getting the team that their opponent to play to their style of basketball. I just wonder how sustainable that is in a 7-game series. Like in a one-off, you can get a team to play to your style, right? Like you can kind of slow the clock, you can body it up, you can do it that way. But can you do it for a whole 7-game series without being able to adjust and maybe sometimes have to play the other team's style? Like, can you control the style of play for an entire 7-game series? And that's what it feels like that Detroit team has to do to be able to win. And I just don't know. Like, I just don't see them being able to do that every single series in the playoffs. Like, they could do it for maybe the first 2 rounds.
I think they might be able for a third too, honestly.
I think Eastern Conference Finals is where it can get sketchy, because I think Eastern Conference Finals is where you get matched up with a coach like Joe Mazzulla, who's going to specifically game plan to coach against that style of play. And the question of how you can adjust to that is what Detroit has not shown, or at least we haven't really gotten a chance to see them try and answer that question, because they are so good at getting the team to play their style of play. But I just think in a 7-game series, the adjustments that another coach could make, a smart coach could make, would cause them problems.
I guess the reason I'm a little more bullish too is that with Detroit is that I think they got their like this is not the first time this core has been there. It's the first time they've been there with like expectations necessarily, but they put up a great series against the Knicks last year. Like, they were very close to knocking the Knicks out in the first round. They made that competitive. I feel like that seasoning will go a long way for them come this particular playoff run. Like I really do feel like they'll have that little more experience. I do worry on a coaching front. JB Bickerstaff has always been a really good regular season coach. He's kind of struggled in the playoffs, and so like I do think that matters.
When you get to 7-game series and you have to get adjustments, and that's.
But I do think for most of the Eastern Conference, I think they can muck it up enough to come out of it. It's once you get to the finals, then it's like, hey, yeah, I don't know if you can do that against OKC, who likes to muck it up as well, or San Antonio with Defensive Player of the Year Victor Wembanyama. Like, that's going to be a tougher ask for them. But I am bullish on this Detroit team. I think they could win the East.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see them winning these. It's just that the concern is that, again, they don't have the shooting that I think will be necessary to really sustain long-term in the playoffs. In this day and age of the NBA, like, I love the style of play that they have. I love the way that they really do play like a bully ball style of basketball. But it just, I think that teams and offenses are too smart in today's day and age of the game to let that influence them for 7 straight games or 4 straight games, even sort of thing. Like I think that teams will be able to adjust and be able to kind of make Detroit try to step up and be like, all right, it's time for somebody other than Cade Cunningham to really do stuff for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think teams for sure are going to blitz Cade.
And Jalen Duren is great too. I'm not taking anything away from him, but like Tobias Harris can't be your guy.
No.
And that's like what's like
my brother in Christ. I have known that firsthand for far too long. Like we trust me. We could have done a whole podcast about that. Detroit does not need that.
And that's the problem with them. Like the fall off is so drastic. Like they have a lot of really good role players. Like Sir Thompson is awesome for them. Duncan Robinson has done great things. He's kind of figured out how to shoot the basketball again. But you need stars in today's day and age in the NBA to be able to do it. And Cade Cunningham is a star. Jalen Duren
for sure
is a pseudo star, pretty much. Tobias Harris is not, and that's your second leading scorer, and he's only averaging like 12 a game or something. Like I just don't.
But you don't think they don't give you any vibes a little bit last year? You don't think so? Like you don't think Cade is like Hallie, and that like Durant is like Siakam, and everybody else kind of like they know their role, they know their identity. You don't feed into that a little bit.
There's still more missing. They still need like they don't like the dogs aren't there. Like
they need way more shooters too. Like Wemby had a great series. Nesmith went off.
Nesmith was great and that's the thing too is it's just I just don't see them. I think they're a piece away. I think that's what it is. I think that's like that's a team that could have used Desmond Bane.
Yeah. He would be great there for sure. I mean, Duncan could go on a heater though. That's the thing too. Is like we have talked about Duncan.
Yeah, but Duncan could also, like, but he could also go 1 of 8. But he could go 1 of 8 in the next game. Like that's the thing with Duncan too. Yeah,
but
Heat fans will tell you.
Yeah, I mean, he also but you counter that too with Heat fans also tell you he's a key piece in them going to the finals. Like it doesn't matter.
But it's the inconsistencies there though, and when you have a guy that you can't rely on a Duncan Robinson who has a history of going one game, 6 of 8 from 3, and the next game 0 for 5 from 3.
Yeah, you're like right. I don't want that to be a consistent thing.
You need and that's the thing with this Detroit team. Like you've got a lot of inconsistent players once you get past Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren.
Yeah. All right. Well, switching gears a little bit, let's talk some expansion here real quick. We'll go back out west. Of course, the cities that we all expected, Seattle and Las Vegas. And they're already, I mean, nothing is final yet, but it's all exploratory at this point. I mean, I feel like everybody on earth has known that Seattle would be the one, given how the Sonics exited and all that. Vegas has certainly, proved any doubts about their ability to be a serious sports town out the window now with basically, I mean, they're going to have all 4 sports. Like they're going to have gone from 0 to 4 here pretty quick. I mean, we're like the cities are logical or there from a logical sense, and it's always a balance because, and this will go well into our anti-tanking discussion as well, but it's always the balance, right? Because there's more basketball talent than ever right now. Like every team basically has someone to watch. They've got somebody to root for. They've got somebody who is like at least a semi-star on them. But at the same time, when you've got a third of the league actively tanking, is expanding a wise idea, or are we just like diluting the pool even more right now?
I think that it's worth expanding, only for the sake of that. I think that, as you said, like the talent base is so deep right now that I still think that there's players that are missed out there too. Like I just think that because of the way everything athletic wise is growing and the way that like players are developing and the way that we're seeing, like, was it 2023, 2025, and now 2026, like 3 of these last 4-year draft classes have been stacked. And I think that that's only going to continue with the way that we're kind of seeing things develop. And so why not add some more teams in the mix? Why not build it out a little bit more? And also get it where you can actually have like a more functioning kind of balance as far as like East and West, like you look at teams like Minnesota and they I feel like they don't belong in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit. Justin and I talked a little last week. The three borderline teams that make sense if you're going to, I mean, you can only move two of them, but it's Minnesota, it's Memphis, and it's New Orleans. Like, those are the
Yeah.
three teams where it's like, from a geographical standpoint, it feels like they make sense.
Well, especially Minnesota with all those other teams up in that bucket. Like there are so
Right.
many other teams that are up in that are all Eastern Conference teams. Like it just makes so much sense to move them over there. So like my thing with the expansion isn't necessarily like even about the player pool. It's just about trying to make the conferences make a little bit more sense because like I had a roommate who was a Minnesota Timberwolves fan and he was like, I hate that we're in the West. We don't belong
Yeah.
in the West. Our travel schedule every year, we travel the longest distance out of every team in the NBA because of the way our schedule is set up. And like there's always going to be a team that travels the most, but it shouldn't consistently be one team because they're aligned in a conference that doesn't align geographically with where they are on the map.
Well, there's nowhere else that you could even look to move it. Like that's the thing is it's like so many of these teams now, like right, all Pacific Northwest based or California based. You're not going to move any of those. You're not going to move the Suns. You're not going
No.
to move the three Texas teams. That makes sense. They're more further into Central Time Zone. Like they're just yeah, Minnesota does feel out of place. And right, the proximity there with Chicago, with Detroit, with Indiana, like they're all just they're right down the road, it feels like. You know, even with Memphis and New Orleans, again, it's the proximity more with like Orlando and Miami and Atlanta and Charlotte. Like there's a logical fit there. You know, somebody there is going to get like left out to dry a little bit. Like that just is the unfortunate reality of it. I think for me, in my opinion, after really thinking about this more after last week when we kind of talked about it, I feel like New Orleans should stay. I think New Orleans is closer to like Houston and Texas
Yeah.
and all those teams where it like evens out a little bit. I feel like Memphis and Minnesota should be the teams that go east.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And I also just think adding a team in Seattle is so great. Like I like as a kid growing up, like I loved those supersonic colors. I loved
Yeah.
everything about it. Like it was so cool. So like I've been long in the camp of like let's get a team back in Seattle. So like that is the other part of this at all. Like it doesn't matter. I don't like I honestly I should have said this first. That is more prioritized for me than the
Yeah.
geographic location of these cities. Like getting a team back in Seattle is necessary. So let's get a team back in Seattle. We'll have to add another team. That's fine. Create 32. And then we'll get Minnesota out of their shitty geographic region.
It's a good natural rivalry with Portland. Like I feel like the Kevin Durant Sonics jersey has really been a
Oh,
popular throwback in recent years as it started to take off. So yeah, I mean it logically
I would
makes
say
sense.
I would say since like for the longest time, I don't even say like the last few years. I think that that's one of the most like prominent jerseys of the last 20 years is that
I've
KD Seattle Sonics jersey.
I think the only reason people like really haven't been clamoring more about how much of a travesty it was for Seattle to leave is just because OKC wrapped around the Thunder so well and that is such a strong fan base down there that it was just like, well, all right, like they're doing it like they're supporting that franchise. You know, if they had moved and no one supported that franchise, I feel
They
like
didn't
it
have
would have been such a
success or
bigger
anything. Yes. No,
yeah, because I mean that OKC franchise, like right, they were good early. I mean, they made the finals within what 4 or 5 years of moving there. Essentially, like they were in the finals in 2011 against Miami. So, yeah, I mean, I certainly think that's played a factor into it as well. In terms of the anti-tanking stuff, so we got three proposals here right now. The first proposal is so the bottom 10 teams that miss the play-in tournament and the eight that make the play-in tournament all are part of the lottery. The bottom 10 all have an equal 8% chance of moving up, and the remaining 20% of the odds are split among the eight play-in teams in descending order. The second proposal is 22 teams. So you have the first four, all the teams that we just mentioned, plus the first four playoff teams that lose in the first round are in the lottery and ranked according to the record across the last two seasons, which is like, but that's how the WNBA does it. So at least I kind of see where that went from. But I'm with you. I don't think it should be weighted across two seasons. It's so radically different.
I just don't think you should be including teams that make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, I
Like
don't fully
like you have a
disagree with that.
season
Especially the
like
top six. Like,
well, like you look at a season like this too, where you've got you've got Charlotte coming on late, and you've got Atlanta coming on late in a way where they're like looking really good, and there's a chance they could then purposefully lose in this play-in game just to land into that 22 team lottery, and then you get a team that's kind of already set and in a good position getting even better, like, or just even a good team. Like if Jason Tatum never came back this year and Boston didn't play as well as they did, and they had ended up in that play-in game and they lose in the first round, then you've got a team like Boston who already has Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, potentially, even though the odds are crazy astronomical, potentially still having a shot at the number 1 overall pick.
Right. No,
shouldn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough though, because like, what do you feel about Indy being down at the bottom this year?
Yeah,
because like it's smart. Like they should have bottomed out this year with Hallie out.
Yeah.
Like, reload, go get a star.
I think that it's different with Indy just because that they only had 1 star and it happened that way. And the other person that was really good left them in the offseason for a team that ended up not doing as good in Miles Turner. But I think that it's, like if the Celtics didn't have Jaylen Brown, then yeah, I could totally see and understand them tanking and like not even just like not having a good season because they don't, but like they have good, like
it's whether it's ethical. It's whether it's ethical or not. Indy's tank this year feels very ethical. Like it's not like they're just bad because their guys are out.
No, it's just they're bad because Tyrese Halliburton is so damn good that without him, that's the team. Like it, like it just is what it is. Like they maybe could have won 30 games this year if they tried a little harder, but like ultimately they were just what they were without Tyrese Halliburton.
The third proposal is this 5x5 method. So it's the same 18 teams from the first concept. So everyone, the 10 teams that did make it, and then the 8 teams that were in play-in position. And so the teams with the 5 worst records all have the same odds with them descending. And there's going to be a lottery drawing for each of the top 5 picks in the draft. And then after those 5 are selected, there's another lottery for the remaining 13. And if any of the teams with the 5 worst records didn't get any of those top 5 spots, the lowest they could fall is 10th. So it kind of like prevents them from falling too far. I don't know. I don't like any of these.
No, and I purposely kind of wanted to interrupt you halfway through that second one and distract people because I guarantee you that everyone who's listening to this right now can try and think back to what the first and second scenarios are if they didn't know what they were before you told them and have no idea what they were by now. Like it's just because it's too much.
I need a chart essentially. Like I need a flow chart behind me.
It's all super like heavy word. Like it's all just weird math, like and not even easy math based, just like an obscure math that they've decided to add into some of this. Like I hate all of it. I hate every single way that they've done it. The first way I feel like is the closest to what we have now, and that's why I would say that's the best option right now. But I don't like any of it. I still think that I had a friend, my roommate in Orlando when I worked with the Magic, Matt Ostro, shout out, Minnesota guy, Timberwolves fan, the guy that I also complained about how they were always in the wrong location and always thought they should be an Eastern Conference team. That's a good wraparound. I thought he had a great idea, and it was that after a team is mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, every win from that moment on counts to a different win total, and whoever has the most wins after you've been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs gets the number 1 overall seed. So you might, there's going to be loopholes and stupid things in all these situations. And in that situation is you might have a team that is like, let's tank so fast and let's lose as many games as possible. So by December, we're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
It's like reverse tanking. You're tanking at the beginning of the season.
Right. And then you win the rest of the year. So you have 40 wins and you're 40-44 because you went 0-44 the first half of the year. So that's the only like hiccup that I have in it, but it gives an incentive to not sit players late in the year. It gives an incentive to try and keep winning late in the year and competing in games in the end of the year. And it still gives the upper hand to the worst of the teams because they have the longest chance to accumulate those wins. A team that is eliminated from the playoffs in the last week of the season will only have an opportunity to gather 4 or 5 wins versus a team that was eliminated 3 weeks prior that has had a lot more games and opportunities to pick up wins. Now, the problem there is also if the team is really, 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 really bad and can't win regardless of when they're eliminated from the playoffs.
Right.
But in that case, that franchise needs to learn something and figure it out and probably fire their GM and their CEO and everything and reset anyways.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is it's just like it's a weird alignment with the conference. So like I think about the years where the East was really just bad and you could eliminate, but in the West you're like all fighting for your life until the last minute there. Like it feels like it, almost discourages you to go for it in the sense for a playing position. But it's in the same way that like I don't think there's a perfect fix here. Like there's there's going to be a loophole with every pick, and like I like that more than whatever we're seeing right now. Like, shoot, I like the idea of them having like a mini one-off tournament. Like, fine, put all these elimination teams in the tournament and let them play for the number one pick. Like, the problem is that
I don't like that one because
weird because the borderline. Well, it rewards like borderline teams, like the play-in teams right
exactly.
now. Like, I don't want necessarily like the Sixers are in the play-in position right now. And like, look, obviously from a homer perspective, I want the number one pick, but like, does it really make sense for us to be the number one pick right now? Or does it make sense for like, I'm trying to look at some of the teams out West, for example, where it's even more like they're, kind of ready to go here sooner than later. Like, I don't know. I don't want, I mean,
but like you look at it, like the Pacers are, the Pacers are eliminated. I can't remember who was eliminated in what order and everything, but like, the Kings have 19 wins. So theoretically, you'd think that they were eliminated 2 games before the Utah Jazz.
Right.
And 5 games before the Mavericks. I think it's the one situation where, and like you look at the East where the Bulls and Bucks have 29 wins, but the Wizards, Brooklyn Nets, and Sixers have 16 and 17. Yeah. Like they'd have a lot more time to build up more wins and get to a point where they could be the number one overall pick.
Yeah.
Like, the Milwaukee Bucks were probably eliminated from playoff contention a week ago. And there's only 7 games left right now at this point. So they would have had maybe 11 games that they could have gathered either 11 wins or, gone 4-7. But Giannis would still be playing right now. Like that Spurs Bucks game this afternoon might have been a little more exciting of a game for people to watch, because you don't have an incentive to sit your best players at the end of the year.
Yeah. God, I don't know. I just like every time I hear these tanking proposals, I just like it all just comes back to the fact that I'm like, I don't think there's a good answer here. I don't know what the answer is right now.
But I thought this was just the best way, because you're going to have teams that are really bad competing as soon as they're eliminated from playoff contention.
Yeah, well, and you just want them to be competing at the end of the season. And like that's what it all comes down to. Is it's like right now, like we have teams that are rounding into shape, but we have large portions of teams that are actively not competing right now. Utah is not competing. Sacramento is not competing. Indy, Brooklyn, Washington are all not competing. The Bulls aren't competing.
So think of this scenario now, right? With this new draft lottery position that I've thrown out there. Theoretically, we could have a situation where at the end of the year, the San Antonio Spurs are playing the Indiana Pacers. And if the Pacers win, they get the number one overall pick. And if the Spurs win, they get the number one overall seed. And in what sport do you ever get a scenario where in the last week of the season, the last day of the season, the worst team and the best team would play each other and both have enormous stakes on the line?
Yeah. I mean, you don't. It would be a unique situation, and right, like the downside is what we talked about a little earlier, is that you risk the beginning of the season being less competitive. But
nobody watches till December, anyways.
Right. If I'm going to pick a portion of the season to be less competitive, I want it to be the beginning of the season compared to the end of the season when everybody's going for it. And so that's the biggest thing, is you need to find a way to incentivize the rest of the season. I don't know what that is, short of there just being like them stripping draft picks, but that just all feels like it feels subjective.
But if you're also in NBA franchise, let's go. Alejandro Kirk tied up in the bottom of the 9th.
Oh, I'm like, what are you even watching?
Sorry,
right now?
Yeah. Blue Jays. If like you like start, like it's so hard to start the season, like it from a corporation standpoint, an MB, like a business standpoint, which is at the same time we have to recognize that that's what this all is. You can't start the season losing. It kills tickets, it kills your own revenue for like merch sales, it kills everything. Like no franchise would support something like that,
Yeah.
regardless of what it did for the basketball long term. Like it just wouldn't happen. Like I think that if you're trying to curb tanking, you have to create something that eliminates teams want to lose games at the end of the year. And the only way to do that is to create an incentive for them to win games at the end of the year. And if you do it when they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, you'll get the best chance for the worst teams to have the longest time to accumulate wins and get that number one overall seed. And I think it would be the best way to balance things out. I really do.
Yeah, I mean it's better than the other three proposals that the NBA has posted so far. So off that alone, like I'm struggling with all these. It's just what I keep coming back to is I don't think there's I just don't think there's an answer here. I don't know. We'll see what it is. But we know this is like, I mean, it's just this season has made it Adam Silver's mission to solve this. So he's going to do something no matter what. I just worry about them overcorrecting it.
And I was going to say, you had texted me earlier and we had like kind of talked about things on the side. And one of the things that you said was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is Adam Silver is going to overcorrect it. And I think that's exactly true. Whatever, I have no faith in whatever the choice is going to be. And that's what's the most concerning thing is that it's just only gonna, in the way that we thought we were fixing tanking with this new system, and it only made tanking worse, and it only hurt the teams that were bad. It didn't help any.
Yeah, and it's just like, look, I'm not going to end the podcast on an anti-Adam Silver row, but it's like, look, I don't have a lot of faith in Adam Silver just across the board right now. I think there's a lot of credit. I mean, shoot, we want to talk about the lot. Like, if we want to put the tinfoil hat on, really, the NBA lottery has no credibility right now. Are you kidding me? After this Cooper Flag thing in Dallas, really, we want to talk about credibility of the lottery? How about you look in the mirror?
Yeah, and I think that is also part of what will lead to the overcorrection, the pressure of everything that happened with that situation.
Yeah, like, my guy, you had the Jazz in 5th last year. Really? Dallas post Luka trade magically goes from like 13 to 1st, which never happens. Like, we don't believe it. And that's, that's a bigger problem that the league can worry about. But thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Appreciate our guy Chris Crawford for coming on and joining the show. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at OnAirWithCC. Make sure when you are in Atlanta, and I mean nationwide, look, you can listen to WSB Atlanta Radio wherever,
the WSB Radio app. Download the WSB Radio app.
Can we leave open mics?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just need to make sure the open mic feature is there. I always got to be able to sound off. Let the people know what's going on in traffic or whatever. Yeah, well, Justin will be back next week. I haven't told Justin this, but like I don't know if I'll be here next week, so maybe Justin and a guest, but we'll see. We got to figure that out. Find out next time on the show.